Well, that's what's going to happen for most of you. You will eventually get to the point where you surrender to the exhaustion and start crying, and then you go, why wasn't I crying years ago? It's so good. It gets, you then start to engage a positive feeling about the crying. So before then it's like, oh, I've got to cry, I know I've got to cry, but I'm not going to, and I'm not going to, and not going to, until the pain's so great that you eventually cry. And then after you cried, you go, wow, that feels heaps better. Why didn't I do that before? And that is part of the faith that needs to build for you to do it again on different subjects.
Yeah.
That's part.
The experiment that we keep going with God and faith to make us choose.
So it's not about forcing emotions to come up. It's about working out why you're shutting down the emotions. God created you to feel emotion, right? So it's not about forcing those emotions that are out of harmony with love to come up. It's about working out why you want to keep those emotions that are out of harmony with love. So in Kate's case, she wants to keep it because she doesn't want to feel her childhood pain. That's why she wants to have these false beliefs. Does that make sense? Feeling the false belief is not going to work because the false belief is the mind's construction supporting the soul's decision. Do you get what I just said? You got your soul, it's made a choice. At the soul level, the choice is no emotional pain. In other words, not allowed to feel any emotional pain. That's your soul's choice. Now, sort of when I was about 33, I made a different choice. I made a choice, if there's any soul pain inside of me, I'm going to feel it. Right? So I made the choice to do it differently.
But was that a choice that you made based on like a will that you just said, that's it, I'm going to start?
No, I had a whole series of very negative events occur till I got to the point where I was totally alone and feeling suicidal. And then I realised that actually I wanted to continue living, even if it was just for the fact that I had some sons that I wanted to not harm for the rest of their life, right? And then I decided, well, I can't just live. I've got to, if I'm going to be an example to my sons, I'm going to have to live positively. How do I do that? And then I realised that I'm going to have to do that by actually choosing to release everything inside of me that causes my own sadness, right? And so I, after that, did everything I possibly could. I saw a body therapist 2 times a week. I spent all my money doing it. I spent 2 times a week seeing a body therapist. I spent 2 times a week seeing a person I could talk to about, the sadness that I had and all those kind of things. I paid them, right? And then I spent the rest of my time writing about it. And then I spent, I think I had about 2 hours a day work. The rest of all of my money went on it. Like I was at this stage I had nothing at all, and no house, no. I eventually got a car, but so that I could get to these people, but I had nothing else. And in that place, I began to connect to the decision. I'm going to feel my emotional pain, no matter what.
That essence that you had to make that choice out made it a desire.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I made sure, and honestly, I had my family saying, "What are you doing, you stupid idiot?" And they were pretty verbal with me, like, they were calling me names and all sorts of things while I'm trying to do this, right? So eventually, I decided I had to live completely alone to do it because nobody around in my life supported it in any way whatsoever. They all called it me having a breakdown, right? When I had actually made a choice to go through feeling some emotional pain, they called it a breakdown. I've gone crazy now. Of course it got worse as soon as, 10 years later when I remembered who I was, it even got worse after that. But even before then, they were thinking I was crazy because I was choosing to feel my emotional pain when they weren't, right? So yeah, make that choice. Now, that choice, I wanted to feel my emotional pain. Kate's choice is, at the moment, she wants to not feel her emotional pain. That's her choice, right? So what does that do? That creates, and this is how it works for everybody, that creates the mind. Remember, the mind is a tool of the soul. So the soul says, I want no emotional pain. What's the mind going to do? The mind's going to have to support the soul's belief that emotional pain is bad. So what it's going to have to do is create a whole series of belief systems that are in complete harmony with the soul's decision. That's what it's going to have to do. So the mind creating this belief, that makes sense to me, because that's the belief that's in complete harmony with that soul choice. You follow me? The problem is when we hear another choice, right, whether it be from Jesus or from some celestial spirits or from God, even, trying to help us through the attraction events, and we hear another choice, then we've got a conundrum. The conundrum is, now I have my mind saying that's the choice that I need to be making, and this supports my choice, but the other voice, whether that be a spirit or someone else helping me or whatever, is saying, no, that's not true. And then the mind in this state of, it's not equilibrium anymore, it's now in a state of disharmony, it's now in a state of trauma, right? Now you've got one screaming at you one direction and one screaming at you the other direction, right? And as that screaming goes on, eventually it sinks down to the fact that actually maybe the mind's construct, the investment that's being created, is more to do with the soul choosing something than anything else, right? So your choice to not believe in God or believe in God, most of those choices are all made from some kind of soul-based avoidance of an emotion, right? That's the reality. They've actually even done studies on it. They've put in front of people who want to believe in a bigger power other than themselves, they've put a blank canvas with all this static on it, and they always see a picture in it. They always see something. They imagine something's there when it's even not there, right? And the reason why we do that is because we want to have certain beliefs. And what I'm saying is, most of our belief systems are driven by, and I'm talking about even people who believe in God at this point on the planet, most of their desire to believe in God has got nothing to do whether God exists or not. It's got everything to do with what they want God to do for them. It's got everything to do with their unhealed, soul-based emotional choices, which they then impose upon their false belief system. So to them, God is going to be this saviour who comes and wipes the wicked out and gets everything up and running, how they think it should be running. And that's because that's their soul feeling. They want that to happen. Right? It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means it's what they want to happen. And the same applies to the atheist. He doesn't want to believe in God for very similar reasons. He doesn't want to have an afterlife where there might be responsibility, and it doesn't want to... look at most scientists, they don't even want to investigate the spiritual existence, or the existence of a spiritual body. Very basic thing in terms of our existence, and they don't want to investigate it. Of course, most of them start investigating as soon as they pass, but not before then. Because it supports a whole series of false beliefs that they want to retain, because those false beliefs support the avoidance of specific emotions.